If you run a company or manage a team, hiring qualified people quickly can make or break your business. Imagine a position of need going unfilled for weeks or even months because you just can't seem to find the right candidate. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. This makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results on your job post. Just in the last minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Now that is fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Go to Indeed.com/BWN right now to support this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply.
We're talking MACtion, the 2005 MAC champs, the 2015 Potato Bowl champions. That's right. We're talking going to be bringing you their 2025 football here in just.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the MAC Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things MAC, all things football, all things sports, right here, MAC Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great MAC to everyone.
Graham, welcome back. It is time to start football season, which is just crazy. We're already a little bit past halfway through June, actually closer to the end of June. And we've got the Akron Zips on tap. How excited are you for football season?
Not as excited as you are, but certainly love to get some action. We love the midweek matchups. We love the action. It's nice that we're starting out on the Akron Zips because honestly, I don't know that I have enough energy for college football right now, and I don't know that Akron deserves that much energy.
No, right. The Zips hit this offseason with a bowl ban due to PR scores. So Akron will not be eligible just for the bowl games, but they'll not be eligible for the MAC championship. Oh, this is the year they program. I think it's a 12-0 year for Akron. It's there's an opportunity for them to run the table and claim a regular season championship in a year where they have nothing to play for, nothing to kind of go off of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much how things are gonna go. I mean, honestly, that's the luck of Akron is to, in a season where they can't really be successful, they will be successful. And that's just the way it works for these Zips. You mentioned that the coming off a 4-8 season last year, for most teams, that's pretty disappointing. That's well under 500. That is not bowl eligible. But for Akron, that's a marked improvement. It's wild how many articles I saw praising Joe Moorhead for a 4-8 season. And I know you have some opinions about Joe Moorhead, but I do too. And I don't think he's done a great job for these Akron Zips. That's talking about a 4-8 season as an improvement over 2-10, I suppose is true. But Alex, this is just a couple of the coin flips from previous years going different ways. I think when it comes to the Zips, when you're going to look at a team that looks like they can actually compete in the MAC, in terms of football. You're looking for a team who doesn't have so many coin flips. And we talk about parity in the MAC all the time. And so maybe that's too much to ask, but anytime we're looking at a team in MAC football, we're looking for a team who can step up and win games rather than rely on kind of the luck or the weather to push things in their favor. And I don't know Akron has taken that many steps forward. In fact, as we're going to talk about as we get into these previews, they've faced quite a few transfer portal woes.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting looking at the Zips team. You talk about coin flips. They lost so many games last year by like really close scores. They game by 10, lost the Bowling Green game at home by 7 on a late comeback drive by the Falcons. This is an Akron team who I think they put in the effort, but they close out the season the right way. They actually won 3 of their last 5 of the regular season, including wins over Eastern Michigan, the rivalry win over Kent State, and then of course the win to finish the season off against Toledo. I feel like, and again, we've had our discussions on Joe Moorhead. We don't need to get into that too much. I am starting to become cautiously high on Joe Moorhead.
You only spent 1 year off of the Joe Moorhead train. That's you were on Joe Moorhead right away.
I was.
You were cautiously on that train in the second season, and then this last season you went, well, maybe he doesn't have it. Now you're back on the Joe Moorhead train. Alex, you're gonna have to start buying tickets if you're gonna ride that train.
I have a lifetime pass on the Joe Moorhead. So we're clear on this, but let's kind of look at this Akron team. Obviously we talked about the APR scores, banning them. They're the first FBS program to get postseason bans in 2014. Idaho playing in the FCS. Not saying there's anything there, but worth noting. But I think this year it has to be about development. It has to be about what we build on for next year. You've got a lot of young guys in this team who are looking to make positive impacts. The regular season still counts. So you want to do everything you can to put your name into the school record books. You just can't do anything I'll just kind of dive into it a little bit here with Akron. This offense was, well, let's just say it was bad. A 20.4 points per game. They were set in the Mid-American Conference, just 206 pounds and a third down rate of 36.2. On defense, they were giving up 32 points a game. And you had a lot of tackle and sack production from CJ Nunley and Antavius Fish. But how do you improve on an offense and a defense that were pretty bottom of the Mid-American Conference from a year ago?
Not just bottom of the Mid-American Conference, bottom of the league, bottom of all of Division I college football. We talk about S&P Plus ratings, which is my preferred ranking system there. In the S&P Plus, Akron's offense ranked 134th out of 136 teams last year. So only Kent State was worse. This is a production for a production-based offense that was really bad. And so despite an offense that lost some key pieces, I'm not sure you could have lost any key pieces. It's hard to imagine Akron's offense being much worse than they were last year. Hard to call defense a bright spot for the Zips last year, but it was way better than their offense was. In terms of S&P Plus, they're 117th, and that's still not great, but at least a marked improvement from 134th. I think pretty much anything the Zips do this year is going to be an improvement. You talked about this being a development year, and I think it's true necessarily. A team that can't go to the postseason has to focus on development this year. And good news for the Zips, most of their star pieces are not seniors. These are guys who will have eligibility left following this year. But I don't know. It's hard to say year 4 under a head coach is a development year. I mean, I think these APR woes, it's a big step back for the Zips. And Alex, I really don't know what they can do to view this season as a success. I mean, I think it's easy to say, if a team can go to a bowl game, then the season is a success. Well, Akron can't go to a bowl game. We already know they're not going to be there. The team can make the MAC championship, that's a successful season. Well, Akron can't do that. That's they're not allowed. So you almost root against a solid regular season because you don't want to waste it. In our preview here, in our pre-show, you talked about how this team has had one winning season since 2015. They have a single MAC championship in 2005. This is a team who, we go back to 2005. You talk about 2005, and then before that, when the Zips had Charlie Fry and Luke Getzey behind center. This is an Akron program that was looking pretty good, and then the bottom dropped out. And since then, we really haven't seen any quality from the Zips, with the exception of that sole season that brought them to the MAC championship game. Alex, I don't know what the measure for success is. How do we know that the Zips have had a successful season this year?
Well, I think when Akron, you've got to say, all right, one, what's every team's number one goal? Try to win your conference. Okay, you can't win the conference this year. Can't win a bowl game this year. In the MAC, those are the two big markers. But I think up there, your third big marker, beat your rival. Akron right now, for as bad as they've been at football the last several years, let's just be very candid about that. Kent State the last 2 years, and Zip fans are loving every second of it. And I think there's merit to that. You win in this rivalry, that's for Akron and Kent State standards, that's a good season. You pull off that. Akron closed out the season with a win over Toledo, who went on to win their bowl game. They pulled off that win against Eastern Michigan. Like into the season last year, that you're like, okay, maybe the ship's starting to turn around. Oh, and by the way, we still took down Kent State. We'll get to their preview here on. That's not a today thing. But it doesn't matter how good or bad Kent State is. You get up for that game. Fans get up for that game. And they were rewarded the last 2 seasons with victories over the Golden Flashes. And I think that is at least a partial mark to a successful season.
Well, and I think you're right in, talk about a rivalry victory. We don't talk about this much in the MAC because I think it's really easy for folks outside of the conference to look down on statistics created within the conference. I mean, talk about Harold Fannin Jr. last year, who was maybe the best receiver in college football, even at the tight end position. So including everybody who caught the ball with their hands last year, Harold Fannin Jr., maybe the best receiver out there, didn't get credit for that because of being in the MAC. And really got, we watched him fall in the draft. I'm not upset that he ended up with the Cleveland Browns, but watched him fall in the draft to a couple of tight ends who I think he compared very favorably to. And so I think sometimes statistics in the MAC, individual statistics, get overlooked because of the conference that they're produced in. But this year for the Zips, that's it. It's beat the rival and put up great individual statistics. And I think that's tough because the way that MAC schools become great programs is they build that team camaraderie. And in a year when you're saying we can't really do that, we need you to all perform at individual levels, that's what's going to help you this year. I think that puts them in a tough spot. I want to talk about some of these players. We've watched Ben Finley play for the Zips and do kind of an admirable job with an offense that's been awfully anemic. What do we think about the quarterback position for the Zips?
I really like Ben Finley. I mean, last year he had 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. But I like that there's going to be a little bit of what looks like competition for the quarterback job this year. Michael Johnson, coming in from Syracuse, limited limited action for Michael Johnston. Really like that there's going to be some competition. Taj Bullock transferred out, being a real path for him to start at Akron, went to go find another path. So, we wish him the best of luck. But I really, really think this could be a really interesting battle between Johnson and Finley. I think Finley, the prohibitive starter, the guy who's been with the team, who has that chemistry with the players. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were going to see a little bit of a QB battle to some degree here in fall camp. Again, you get a guy who's coming in from a power conference. There's always value in that. That's a guy who's practiced with. That's a guy who has, even if they haven't seen the field much, they're still practicing against Power 4 scout teams. There's still a lot of other elements that they can bring to the table, leadership wise and kind of experience wise, even in limited action on the field.
Yeah, that's the I think you're right. I think Ben Finley is the guy. And there is some depth behind him. But really I think Ben Finley is the guy, and that's where this offense starts and ends with me. Is Ben Finley, is how well he can perform. I think a lot of his struggles for the Zips offense have been the lack of other offensive aspects out there. It's the Zips have kind of had a revolving door on offensive line for the past few seasons. Not a lot of stability there. Also, and maybe a product of the offensive line, running back has been a situation where Akron just can't seem to get a ground game going. Now, if they can get a ground game going, maybe that does free up Ben Finley to have an even better year than he's had in the past. I think quarterback for me is the point at which I'm going to judge this Akron offense. If Finley or God forbid he has an injury, whoever is behind center for the Zips, if they have a good year, I think that'll mark a successful season for me watching these Zips.
So I think it's going to come down. I agree with you, by the way, but we're going to see something really exciting. Akron gets Alex Adams back this year. Alex Adams from LSU, 22, I believe, had a great first year with Akron. A little bit of a down year in 2023, only played in 7 games. Last year was hurt all year long. But he gets to go up against what I think is fellow stud Adrian Norton from Hoover, who was a second-team All-MAC player a year ago. Those are 2 key wideouts for Ben Finley, and I think that that's going to give him a little bit of a boost. You kind of mentioned the Jordan Gant out of Tennessee State. This is an opportunity for him to kind of break out. There's not, and I've got that here. It's not a lot of production at the running back spot in this backfield, like you very accurately mentioned. But I really think that they've got of lineman Alan Jones coming in from West Alabama, an FCS transfer, who I think could help shore up a few of these deficiencies, not all of them. But there's an opportunity for this team to kind of establish some offense. Also, here's the other thing. We talked about playing for, hard to build the camaraderie. You can spoil a lot of seasons just because you can't get to the postseason. Doesn't mean you can't spoil seasons. And I think there's something noting about that.
Yeah, Akron's certainly been a spoiler in the past. And so yeah, I'd love to see that. I don't know how much research you did into Jordan Gant, but I tried to look up Jordan Gant hoping that he was related to Dallas Gant. Turns out no. I couldn't find any connection to Dallas Gant. So unfortunately, not more Gant family within the MAC here. But if we keep getting these Gants in the MAC, eventually we'll be able to link them all. Yeah, Jordan Gant, a bright spot and an exciting spot for Akron if they can get him going in the backfield there. You mentioned Alex Adams. Agreed. I think he's due for a bounce back season coming off of that injury. But we know how unpredictable injuries can be. Jake Newell at tight end is going to be a great target for
Yes.
Ben Finley. But again, there's a question mark here about what this season looks like. I think it's going to be nice to have that safety valve. He was available for Finley last year, and he should continue to be available for him this year. Offensive line, we see a couple of newcomers on offensive line that should solidify that. I'm cautiously optimistic about this Zips offense, but only insofar as it couldn't be much worse than it was last year.
True. That's I think when you're second to last in the country, the only place to go really is. But this offensive line, my concern is that they've got a bunch of players who are just big boys, but nobody's tall. Offensive line, and like we'll talk about, oh well, you just need the size. No, you need the height, you need the length of offensive lineman. I think that's going to be the big concern.
Yeah, the length to make yourselves wide enough to protect the quarterback, and the height to knock down some of those defensive lineman hands. Get a little bit of air for your quarterback, for Finley to get the ball out there. On the other side of the ball, big loss for the Zips on the defensive line, losing CJ Nunley to Purdue. He was one of the top tacklers for the Zips last year, as well as one of their top sack producers. He was doing things for the Zips that made them better. And hard to attribute any win to a single player, but Nunley might be the closest the Zips had to that last year, being just a true disruptor on the defensive line and keeping Akron in games that they probably shouldn't have been in. So how are we replacing Nunley?
Well, that's like you said, going to Purdue here. Kawan Murphy, big boy, you've got Arizona, and I'm going to be kind of biggest addition right now. Durham stats readily available. I apologize, but again, you get another Power 5 guy into your system, and of transfer portal. I think this is going to be a solid pass rush, but because all these guys have pass rush experience, they got from UTEP, another quality player. You get these guys who are great at pass rush, but get the run. This was something that hurt them last year. Pretty solid as a pass defense, but the ground game is what brutalized them, and that's why they lost. They probably shouldn't have been in, right? They ultimately would fall to those opponents. But I really, really think that there's an opportunity here for one of these guys, Kapongo, Madden, Durham, Murphy, to break out and just to kind of have kind of this kind of their own season. But I don't think that you can kind of really say anything about this defensive line without talking about the linebackers. And again, another big loss. Leading tackler on the best tacklers in the MAC a year ago. In fact, I think conference a year ago, he's heading off to Oklahoma State. So this Akron defense that wasn't great, had performance, just getting brutalized transfer portal.
Yeah. I mean, this is an Akron defense who, again, it was the rare bright spot for the Zips last year, and losing probably your two top performers on defense to that transfer portal is a tough place to start for Akron this year. Defensively, Akron is returning only about 30% of its defensive production. And so it's kind of a coin flip here about, where that production is going to come from going forward. And, we're talking about, we have, returners in Gage Summers and Shimon Cooper, but really no one of note transferred in at that linebacking position. And so, you talk about the defensive line. We have guys who have some pass rush experience who look like they're pretty decent pass rushers. But we're not seeing a lot of run stopping there. Same thing at the linebacker position, where you would hope that if your defensive line isn't making those stops, that your linebackers step up. It's hard to see the depth at linebacker that we would like to see to be confident in a real run stopping ability. I mean, Akron's season might come down to the ground game. Can they stop it? Can they produce it? And we'll see.
I think if this is the year for Gage Summers to have his chance to break out at linebacker, he did not have the best at 35 tackles. As game came against Toledo to end the year, and it looks like collectively his stats got better as the year went on. Just kind of showing, his continued participation on the defensive side of the ball. Opportunity for Summers to step up. He's a junior. Opportunity for him to really make a name in his junior year. But Shimon Cooper, the Illinois transfer ago, he has to step up. Was not great last year. Only played in 2 games, as a matter of fact. This is critical for these guys to get in sync and to be critical parts of this defense if Akron wants to have a plus 500 season.
Absolutely. I think we got to round out the defense here. Just quickly mentioning the secondary, a couple of transfers in. Ben Kamara comes from JUCO, and he's going to be opposite Elijah Reed at the cornerback position. Neither of these guys, Ben Kamara looked pretty good last year, but again, you talk about JUCO production. How does that translate? It'll be interesting to see. The corners are a little more proven, although still fairly unproven as compared to the safeties. But the safeties here for the Zips, Alex, I don't even know who the starters are.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue kind of with this season and with Akron this year. Great question. You got Devontae Golden Lewis. You've got Darian Lewis. You've got Paul Lewis. A lot of Lewises here. Scoop David, the transfer from Oregon. Nobody's proven.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
That's everybody here is either unproven from Akron or unproven from elsewhere transferring into Akron. It'll be interesting to see what the secondary does. We talk about this being a development year. This could be an opportunity for some of these guys to step up and prove themselves. I wonder if there's that motivation for improvement when there isn't postseason play on the line. Did you want to quickly talk about special teams?
We can briefly touch on special teams. Watch out for All-MAC preseason punt returner this year. I think that he has an opportunity to be a game changer. This is going to be a big one. This is a bad 2024 for the Akron. It was not stellar. But the coordinator, Ryan Matvitko, comes in, and I think that there's an opportunity for him to kind of change this game around and make this a strength rather than a weakness for the Zips. Special teams, defense, because there are just so many question marks.
Absolutely. So, maybe we go through the schedule here to kind of wrap things up. We'll talk about these games and then we'll do our final predictions here.
Before we get to the schedule, I just want to make sure that you guys have downloaded the Varsity app from Learfield. You can download, listen to all of your favorite podcasts, live broadcast for all your favorite sports from pretty much every Division I program. That includes all the MAC schools, the Big Ten, SEC, Sun Belt, and more. You can download, sign in, save your favorite sports teams, and also save your favorite podcasts, such as your Sports Connection, the Sickos Committee podcast, Five Guys podcast. Favorite podcast is the voices that bring in life. Make sure you download it. That's free to download in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Give that a download, sign in, save your favorite programs, favorite voices, favorite podcast to continue to bring your schools and your sports to life. Graham, this 25 season for Akron. I'm just going to read down the schedule real quick. Week 1 against Wyoming at home. Week 2 at Nebraska. Week 3 at University of Alabama, Birmingham. Week 4 at home versus Duquesne. And then you kick off conference play on the road at Toledo. Home for 2 versus Central Michigan and Miami. Away for 2. Home for 2 versus Matt. And then Kent State for the wagon wheel. And then on the road to wrap up the regular season. Green.
Yeah, that's in terms of games coming out here, I think Akron starts 0-2 guaranteed. I don't see a real path to beating Wyoming. I don't see any path to beating Nebraska. And frankly, we've talked about UAB as kind of one of those 50-50 games that maybe Akron could win. I don't see it happening. I have UAB as a loss as well.
Okay. I think Duquesne, pretty much their guaranteed lock first, but I'm not guaranteeing that. Duquesne was a play FCS level, and we've seen FCS teams jump up and beat low-level MAC teams.
And especially a team who starts off 0-3 and doesn't have an opportunity at postseason play. This is going to be a test of the mental fortitude of this Zips team. Do they have it in them to step up and beat the people they need to step up? Duquesne is not a big draw. This is not going to be a ton of fans in the stands for this one. This is not going to be the game that everyone circled on their schedule or anything for the Zips. So motivation might be at an all-time low heading into this game. It'll be interesting to see how the Zips handle this, returning home against Duquesne. And I think you're right. I think this is a droppable game for the Zips.
So where do you have Akron after the first 4 games? Well, before we get into comp. I have them at 1-3.
I agree, 1-3. My win is versus Duquesne. I think they do get their first home win on September 20th.
Okay. We'll go down each of these conference games here. We'll start with Toledo. On the road at Toledo, Rockets got to think the head. They don't want to lose in a row.
Yeah, I think this is Toledo's game to lose. I don't see this being an especially competitive game. We'll talk about Toledo when we get to their preview, but I think the Rockets are going to be really good this year.
All right, moving down the road, I'm with you. So Akron 2-3, 1-4 to start the season. Moving on to Central Michigan at home. Central Michigan is also doing a whole. They're doing a coaching staff change. Matthew Drinkle taking over in his first year at Central Michigan. I enough about what Central's returning. I know they've got some good pieces coming back and a completely new offensive and defensive scheme. Like this one flip, but I flip it a little bit more in favor of Central Michigan.
Yeah, I tend to agree. The only thing that brings me back towards the Akron side is the fact that this is in Akron. But you're right. Central Michigan is an unknown quantity this year. It's going to be hard to tell where they fit in the schema of MAC programs until we see them play. My guess is that they will be towards the bottom of the standings this year, but it's just because of that turnover. And who knows? Central could be just excellent this year. But I do have this one as an Akron win.
Okay, so Akron under you improves to 2-4. For me, they fall to 1-5. Miami, Ohio coming to town. I think this one feels pretty straightforward. At Akron, this one feels like a loss to me.
Yeah, Chuck Martin comes into Akron. He takes their tire and goes home with it. I don't foresee Akron winning this one.
we got a couple of interesting ones coming up here. Ball State, again, another team with another coaching change. Mike Ermovich taking over over in Muncie. This one's on the road. I do like Ball State a little bit more. I don't see many wins on their schedule, and we'll talk about Ball State soon, but I like Ball State at home on this one.
Yeah, this is a Ball State win. I don't think we need to talk much about it. This game will be closer than the Miami game, but
yes,
but this is a Ball State win.
Traveling up to New York against Buffalo. I think, in my preseason, and spoiler alert for those who don't know yet, I have Buffalo as a dark horse / contender for the conference this year. And I've got this marked as a 50-50 game, mostly because I could see it as a trap game for Buffalo. But I like Buffalo.
Yeah, this is Buffalo hosting the Zips, and I really do. I think this is a game that Buffalo is going to be ready to play in. Buffalo potentially, we'll see where they go in terms of running backs, but they have a kid from Akron. It was in the, I believe he was Ohio's Mr. Football his senior year of high school. But coming from Akron, Archbishop Hoban, Lamar Sperling is in the backfield for the Buffalo Bulls. So maybe an opportunity to take down the hometown team for him. I agree with you. This is a Buffalo win.
All right, moving on. We've got UMass. I like Akron at home in this one. I feel like everybody's going to beat up on the Minutemen here in their first season back in the Mid-American. I like Akron at home on this one.
Yeah, UMass doing a lot of traveling around the Mid-American Conference, and traveling to Akron for this one. I think Akron sees this as one of their few chances to grab a win, and I think they do.
And then we've got the famed wagon wheel. I feel like Akron gets 3 in a row in this series. But again, another MAC team, another coaching change. This is UMass. They're on a coaching change as well. So there's 4 teams that plays in the conference with a coaching change. I have to think things will be better over at Kent State with a new head, but you don't know. I've heard the momentum. They win their 3rd straight in the wagon wheel.
Yeah, I mean Kent State, we'll see. They've had their own turmoil, and I think much maligned flashes due to their due especially to their NCAA ranking. Or in that video game, that is. But I have to think that this is an Akron victory. It's at home against a rival. Again, it's one of the few games that I think Akron has a real shot winning this year. So I think this is Akron. They wrap up their season at Bowling Green. Where do you think they go for this one?
A 5th team in conference play with a coaching change. So just unreal for Akron right now for this. They get a this year, but I think Bowling Green wins it. See them being a MAC contender, but I do see them being somebody looking for eligibility. And I think that they pick that up against Akron. So give me Bowling Green at Deutsch Perry to wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, I think if this game was at Akron, and I think if it was early in the season, I might feel more like this is a 50-50 game. But by the end of the season, I think Bowling Green's going to have their stuff together. And then at Bowling Green, this is an easy one for me to pick. I think this is a BG win.
Hey guys, we have picked our winners for each of these games. I'll throw these up on a graphic when we drop this episode, so you'll get to see the graphic when you hear us why we picked the teams we did. Tough sledding for the Zips this year, I think, but an opportunity to kind of build some momentum, get better in the classroom, and look to get back to bowl eligibility in 2026.
I think that's funny. I think you had 3 wins for the Zips, and I had 4. And I thought I was way more pessimistic about the Zips than you are. Turns out you are an Akron hater, and I am their champion.
That's true, Mr. I live in Akron. That tend to happen. But no, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. All the love and support. Going to be bringing you these previews throughout the rest of the summer. So 13 teams, 13 previews, lots of exciting things happening. You'll probably hear at least myself, maybe Graham, on a couple other interviews throughout the summer where we're going to be talking some more Maction. Going to try to get out to Mac Media Day this year. One, if not both of us, talking to some coaches, getting some information for you so that you guys hear it directly from the source. This thing.
I think that's all we have to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week when we talk to you about the Ball State Cardinals. Thanks for listening, guys.